And hi, fellow educators. So happy to have you here today and walk you through a little bit more about playlists and how to set up a playlist or multiple playlists for the upcoming school year ahead. Can everyone see my screen okay? Does that look good?
Looks great.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to stop my video here and pull up another window and we will get rocking and rolling. So the playlist feature is part of the a premium Edulastic subscription. So I do have this link, or excuse me, this window up here, and maybe I can probably put this in the chat. Go ahead and drop that in. So just as a reminder, and some of you may already know what Teacher Premium is, but we have an Edulastic free subscription, and then teachers can upgrade to Teacher Premium. And that really unlocks a lot of these features that are going to help you throughout your instruction, like the ability to differentiate very easily and create student groups, inviting parents to gain insights into the learning process of their students, text to speech, super popular here, and then playlists. There's about 15 or the 16 different premium features, but we're really going to focus on playlists today. And I will provide you a follow-up link when the webinar is complete that really summarizes, what we went over in the webinar. So right now I'm in an Edulastic Teacher Premium account. And over on the left, you'll notice that under library, one of the major differences between a free account versus a premium subscription is this playlist feature is going to populate on the left gray panel. If after the webinar, if you want to create a free Teacher Premium trial to play around with the playlist to see if it would work for you for the school year, you can certainly do that. And I know one of my colleagues can pop that into the chat, but again, you can create a premium trial, test it out for a couple weeks, and check out the playlist feature. So when I come to the playlist feature, I'm on this page, and really think about a playlist as an organized way to bundle your learning tasks, your assessments, and just thinking about a way to package and deliver practice assessments, worksheets, learning resources. I think the best analogy to use is if you organized your music into playlists, why wouldn't you organize your assessments and your instruction? So that's what we're here to do today. So when you go to the playlist feature, I'm going to start by going to collections and showing you what's already created for premium license holders using the playlist feature. So if you turn to Edulastic Certified, there's already 3 playlists created and ready to be used. And it looks like we've got a 6th grade and an 8th grade middle school social studies playlists. Didn't see anyone on the call from Georgia today, but we do have this Algebra 1 end of course assessment. I'm just going to open one up to show you what it looks like. So with this playlist, it looks like the middle school content's been organized into 3 different modules. And then each module has a particular theme, if you will. And then under the module, you've got your assessments lined up for every module listed. So if you are social studies out there, middle school, please, check it out. Let me go to Edulastic Certified here. And, we don't have Georgia on the call, but imagine you are an Algebra 1 teacher. It doesn't matter what state you're in. And you can create your own playlist aligned to like Algebra 1 prep, to your pacing guide for the year. And in this case, it looks like we've got 6 modules lined up, and then each module is a different unit that the teacher in Georgia, for instance, is teaching in Algebra 1. And then what we did was under each unit, we've provided assessments that really match that module's content. So that's one way to access a playlist is, again, just going to the playlist feature and checking out what's already created. And then maybe that's something you can build from. Exciting announcement, I will tell you that we are coming out with even more playlists for you to use at the end of this month. So I think we're going to have some Smart Start diagnostic assessments and playlists. We already have the assessments, excuse me, but we'll organize them into a playlist for you. So check back here toward the end of the month. We'll have more created playlists for you to use. What you can do though is create your own. And I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite features of the premium subscription. So when I come to, I was searching the entire library and then, the Edulastic certified for the pre-made stuff. But I can also come to this created by me. And these are several playlists I've created from scratch. And I'm going to show you how it works in just a minute. I do see we had 2 Ohio folks on the call. So I did create like an example, if you will, Ohio Air Prep playlist. So really the sky's the limit in terms of what kind of playlist you want to create. In fact, I created this one today. So let's come in here. So I'll show you again how this works in just a moment, but everything is customizable. So I decided to call this Miss Davies Algebra 1 course, school year 21-22. I put a little welcome to a new school year. I think this is a great opportunity to be that cheerleader, show the students that, hey, we're excited to, return to school and get to work. And, we're here to keep them supported. So you can write your welcome message here. You can even add a video. So you could have like a little intro of yourself. I uploaded this picture. And then I started creating a couple modules here. And it really, again, you can customize everything to fit your needs. So let me click edit and I'll show you how to start building it. So here's my playlist name. You can create alignment info. So maybe you're using a particular math curriculum or a textbook, grade, subject, and then here's where I was able to customize kind of the intro to the playlist, where you can, again, add that video, images, a message to your students, have fun with the text and background color. So now let's go to manage content, which is about, of course, building your playlist. So as you can see from here, as this Algebra 1 teacher, I'm just using, I'm going to pull this in here, a pacing guide, right? That's been set forth by my district or my math coach. And I'm just copying and pasting straight from this pacing guide, which is a huge time saver. So if you can see here, let me try to split this. So what I've done here is named the module, 1, because of, chapter 1, called it equations, and then wanted to see, how does this look if I just list the standards here for the students to see? And then I copied this portion of the concept descriptors. I put it right down here. So my principal in my school called this SWABOTs. So students will be able to, which are students will be able to write expressions from verbal description, solve equations, et cetera, et cetera. And then I started searching for assessments that are aligned to these standards covered in this chapter on equations. And I was able to add a resource video, an assessment just targeting ACED4. And then I found a really cool Algebra 1, like end of course. So maybe this is what I can use maybe either after this module or at the end of the entire playlist is probably where that would best fit. So let me do this. And here's how you would create your module. So down here, you can see there's the plus add module. And then that module or chapter name in this case would be your your equations that I put on there. So in fact, I'm going to do something new. So let me bring up that pacing guide again. So let's do something like linear functions. So if I just type in linear functions, and again, I'm just following my pacing guide. Linear functions happens to be chapter 4. Now the unit name here, you can just put in some of your standards if you want. And I've just copied and pasted, or you could not put in the standards and you can call this linear functions. And then maybe in the module or chapter name, you put about either how many days this unit's going to cover, or you can put a time range. So maybe this unit kicks off on October 1st and runs through, 10/20, for instance. And then your description, you can put your students will be able to, right from your pacing guide. So I'm going to add this and see, this one I try, and I'm just playing around here. The beauty of the playlist is make it work for you. So in this case, I thought, listing all these standards might be a little intimidating to students. So maybe I just want to keep it simple, where chapter 3 functions, here's what you're going to be able to do, students. And then they can even see, this is about our timeline. So they're involved in the, they're taking ownership of this class as well. So we're showing them about how long this unit's going to run for. It also helps you keep on track as the teacher here. So here's my linear functions that I just created. Here's a module. So now I'm clicking on it and says this module has no test. Let's go ahead now and go to, in the upper right-hand corner, customize content. This is where you find your assessments that really belong in linear functions. And there's a few ways to do that. For starters, I can simply search functions and then see what gets brought up. I can also use this inverted pyramid filter. I can search maybe tests just authored by me. So maybe I've created a really great assessment on linear functions after the first week of delving into the content. Or maybe something shared with me. So maybe a colleague shared a great linear assessment with me, and I can use that. I can even search, let's say, the Smart Start Diagnostics collection and see what's available to use to maybe kick off linear functions. So let's hit apply. And so now I'm coming up with all the different, let's turn off functions. And then now we should be in the Smart Start Diagnostics. Great. Yeah, that works. And so with here, you can see, all these different diagnostics are coming up. So I probably should have just, filtered for grade, but I'm just, briefly showing how this works here. So if you find, a really great diagnostic that could kick off your, linear functions unit, and you want a baseline of where students are coming in, so once you've searched, you can preview any of these assessments using the eyeball. And you can see this is a 7-question assessment. I've got the text to speech turned on here. Students can use Scratchpad. They can use the process elimination. They've got the magnifying glass. And if, you can run through this assessment to see if this is something worth dropping into your linear functions module. And if so, you can just drag it and drop it in. And so now there's this one assessment underneath this module. Let's say we want to kick off the module of linear functions with an instructional resource. You can add resources. So these are some videos that I've been kind of searching around for, but all you would do is just go to, let's say, YouTube. You can create a title like ratios and proportions, for example, the description, and then just enter the URL right here. This is pretty cool because if you're going to add a video as a student resource or an activity, you can still tie those resources to a standard. It's optional, but you might as well, especially if you know the standards covered in chapter 4. So then you can just search for your grade, your subject, and in this case, I'm just going to go Math Common Core. And then now I can tie a standard to this resource, for example, and then add resource. So here's this rates, ratios, and proportions. So I'm going to drag it over. And then notice how when I drag it over, I can either add it as a student resource, which is pretty much just an instructional video that they can refer to throughout the module or for an assessment. The teacher resource is a really cool feature. This could be something where maybe you have a video on best practices with teaching linear functions, or best practice with teaching stoichiometry. I was a former chem teacher. So, and the student wouldn't see that. That's just for you to use for that module. Or you can make it a new activity. And I'm going to show you an example of how to make something or what the new activities look like in just a moment. But the new activity means the student's going to watch the video and answer some check for understanding questions that, were tied to the video. So I'm just going to call this, I'll just drop it in as a new activity. So see, I've built so far this playlist that's really mimicking my Algebra 1 curriculum map. And I'm getting all of my assessments in order lined up for the start of the school year. So this is a great prep for school year project, great to maybe do in a PLC or whatever those district learning days look like. This could certainly be something on the PD schedule, is getting your assessments lined up for the school year. And so when your playlist is complete, you just go to publish. You can either save it, you can share it, so you can invite a co-author, or just simply inviting someone to be able to view and duplicate and sending them an email notification. So this could be like a teacher lead maybe creating this, or the coach, what have you. And of course we can save this and publish it. So I'm going to go to publish. And so now, once it's published, you can then click on use this in the upper right-hand corner. And so now notice how I jumped from playlist under library to now the my playlist section. And notice how the screen looks a little bit different here. This is because now I can now assign these modules. So let me show you a couple different things here. So if I go to this first module of equations, let's go to this one because there's more than 2 assessments. So when I see this linear functions module, I can, as the teacher, decide to assign an entire module to my group of students. If I do that, that means that the student on their side gets all of the assessments underneath the module in their account. So this is a really work at your own pace scenario. When you assign a module, you can even set a due date on that module. So maybe you're going to assign this module on Monday and then give the kiddos till Friday to complete the assessments, the activities, the learning resources in that module. Or what you can do is just assign assessments as you go. So you can assign all 3 of these up front, or you can, as you teach that concept, go over those skills, you can assign one by one. Okay. Also keep in mind, in this playlist, it looks like I've got 1, 3, and 4. I probably, I could put 2 in here, but when you're in the edit mode, you can shuffle, modules around, you can skip around. Really, again, it's going to be up to you how you want to use your playlist. Now, as the students work through each module and work through each assessment, you're going to get the proficiency data here. So on the right side, you're going to have a summary on each module on the proficiency, as well as proficiency on each assessment. This summary section is really helpful to look back on throughout the year to kind of right? Revisit a standard, revisit something, do your spiral review, and looking at what module had the least, what modules were my students the least proficient on. That's a module I'm certainly going to have to review, right? So that summary keeps you posted up to date on the data, as well as these little bars here. Now, when I go to insights, many of you may know this, but if not, in your premium subscription, you have over, let's see, almost 14 to 15 different reports on your assessments. The playlist gives you one additional data, and it's called the insights. So let me see if I can show you something with some fake data so we can look at this. So with the Insights tab, this is showing you students' time spent on modules that you have created or standards that have been assessed, time spent versus performance. So it's just another really cool insight into your students' progress. So for instance, Roxana Beck, time spent is low, performance high. We certainly need to keep Roxana challenged, whereas Lance, Jose need to provide some additional supports, because I see their time spent on assessments is high, but their performance is low. So this is definitely a quadrant of, this quadrant of students I will, need to focus my attention on a little bit more. So let me show you some of the other playlists I've created. So I showed you how to set up, a curriculum map alignment. And again, that's just using whatever your curriculum map or pacing guide is and just creating that playlist. Here's one I did, for example, Ohio Air Prep for Algebra 1. So maybe this is an end of year kind of spring playlist where here's a, reviewing, here's a diagnostics on functions for incoming Algebra 1. So that would be a great review. How do we, add and subtract polynomials as a resource? And then maybe at the end, I'm providing some different overall standards practice for Algebra 1. Let's see what else. I've also created, just thinking about project-based learning. Here's a fun one. So let's say I'm, a second grade math teacher and I'm reading a book with my students, and it's fun. And I want to maybe have students do some certain triangle projects, but at the end of the day, I also want to assess, are they understanding what a triangle is? Can they identify different types of shapes? So again, you can call it whatever the playlist, whatever you want. I added this picture. And then here I thought it would be fun to call this I Spy with My Eye, and then identifying triangles in our world. I provided, a read aloud version of the book to the students just as a resource so they can go back to it if needed. And then here's an assessment I created so we can preview that. So I'm wanting students to upload a picture that shows where triangles are found in their world, circle those triangles, and then give me 3 places where triangles are found. So that's an assessment I gave, and this is one I created. But then also I've got a different shapes assessment where I actually pulled Edulastic certified items from our item bank. And if you do that, they're going to be tied to standards. So yay, I'll have the standards mastery. And here's just a 6-question check-in on, identifying shapes and sides and angles and things of that nature. So I'm just kind of working through this. So this is an example of a playlist aligned to a book that we're reading in class. And I think those are the 3 I've been, or maybe 4 or so I've been working on. I also added something very customized for a district. It's, I think, a safety sort of hazards course where there was a course welcome, and then teachers were creating assessments so they can start, designing a playlist to meet this NIMS core curriculum. I'm going to pause here for a minute, and I'd like you to enter into the chat, what ideas do you have for playlists? I've showed you curriculum guide, pacing maps, project-based learning. I just want to hear from the audience. What are some other ideas? What are some playlists that you can envision yourself creating that's going to help you stay organized? And hey, if it's one of the ones we've already mentioned, then you can feel free to drop that into the chat as well. I've got some other ideas on how to use what kind of playlist to create, but I wanted to hear from the audience. Excellent. I see benchmarks for projects. Yes, back to school math practice. Yeah, I was at project-based learning, Judith, so I love the benchmarks for projects. I can think of one where I did the chemistry of water, and we had a whole water unit and purification of water, so I can just imagine different artifacts that students can upload throughout their project. Some others, I'm just going to put them in the chat. What about SAT or ACT prep? We've got pre-built ACT practice in Edulastic. What about our students who are thinking about the military after high school? What about our ASVAB prep? Or hey, if you lead a club, do a playlist for your club. I know I had a lot of, I had a few students who were kind of chemistry nerds with me, and we did a chemistry club after school. And it's really just kind of just expanding on real world connections, doing some labs at home, and then sharing or just doing labs in the classroom together. Club that you support, and create a playlist for that as well. So we are at time. I think, yeah, Ditya, thanks for addressing Jennifer's question there. We do have differentiation provided for our Spark Math playlist, but that is an additional feature or an additional add-on to the premium. And that does include, it does provide the differentiation right here, where you can group your students either as review work, practice work, or challenge work. And I think we have held a few Spark Math webinars, so maybe we can post that in the chat. But Spark Math does, have a differentiation for you, but we also have the student group feature, which Aditya mentioned in his comment there. All right, thanks, Lauren, for the list of upcoming trainings. I'll be here, and yeah, that's Jennifer, we have Spark Science as well, which is happening tomorrow. So yeah, tune in for the Spark Science. We've got Spark Math, Spark Science, Spark Computer Science,
and ELA.
And Spark, yep, Spark Reading, Spark Words. Phonics. And yeah, phonics would be the Spark Reading, which includes the phonics, the reading comprehension, and words. And here's kind of an example of this, using these videos as resources within a module. And this is Spark Computer Science. So we've created the playlist for computer science teachers ready to go. So you can, use Spark as an additional, an optional add-on, or you can build your own playlist, which I walked you all through today. And here is a recap on what we covered and how to build and use and share playlists.